Welcome to Books in Brief. Today we are embarking on a deep dive into a book that, honestly, it forces you to confront a truly uncomfortable truth. The vast majority of us are systematically and profoundly wrong about the state of the world. But here's the twist. Realizing just how ignorant we are is actually the greatest source of optimism we have.
It's a fascinating paradox.
It is. We're talking about Factfulness. 10 Reasons We're Wrong About the World, and Why Things Are Better Than You Think, by Hans Rosling, Ola Rosling, and Anna Rosling Runlund.
And the central finding of this book, which is based on decades of Hans Rosling's research, it's stunning. He tested thousands of people. We're talking academics, journalists, policymakers, really educated global citizens.
Right, the people who are supposed to know.
Exactly. He tested them on basic global trends, things like poverty rates, life expectancy, population growth.
And the results were, they weren't just bad, they were historically bad. On average, people got just 2 out of 12 questions right.
And Rosling makes a crucial point. This wasn't just random ignorance. It was actually worse than random.
Worse than random. He said that educated humans consistently scored below pure chance, meaning they knew less than if they had just, flipped a coin.
Or his famous analogy, less than if chimpanzees had randomly chosen bananas marked A, B, or C.
Which is just an incredible thing to think about.
That kind of failure, it indicates something is deeply, deeply ingrained in our mental maps. The core argument is that our knowledge isn't just a bit outdated, it's actively warped by what the authors call our dramatic instincts.
Our dramatic instincts. So we filter facts through this lens that's always looking for danger, for fear, for conflict.
Precisely.
So that's our missions for this deep dive. We're going to try and identify a few of these instincts that keep us stuck with this over-dramatic, fear-based view of the world.
We'll start with what's probably the most fundamental one, the gap instinct.
The gap instinct. Okay, what is that?
It's that innate human need to divide everything into two rigid, opposing groups, with a big, empty gap in between.
Us and them.
Us and them. The developed world versus the developing world, the rich versus the poor. For decades, that's been the default way we see the globe.
And when you use just those two categories, it implies that everyone is either living in extreme luxury or, absolute misery. It leaves no room for a middle.
Exactly. And that's why Rosling created a new framework, a much more useful one. The 4 income levels. Level 1 is extreme poverty, so living on less than $2 a day.
Okay.
Level 4 is what we consider a modern high-income life, over $32 a day. And crucially, in between are level 2 and level 3.
And when you see it that way,
the supposed gap just vanishes because the vast majority of people are actually living somewhere in the middle.
That's where the data really shocked me. When Rosling asked people, what percentage of the world lives in low-income countries, so level 1, the average guess was around 59%.
59. That is a massive misconception.
So what's the real number?
The fact-based reality, even from the book's 2017 data, is that only 9% of the world lives on level 1. Just 9.
Wow.
What's more, 85% of humanity is already on level 3 or 4. The world isn't binary anymore. The majority is in the middle.
So if the gap is mostly filled in, why does that binary view persist in our minds, especially for those of us lucky enough to be living on level 4?
The authors have a brilliant phrase for this. They call it the view from up here.
The view from up here.
Imagine you're on top of a skyscraper. That's level 4. When you look down, all the other buildings look small. A 10-story building and a 30-story building both look tiny from the 100th floor.
So you stop seeing the difference between them. You just see not tall.
Exactly. If you're used to $100 a day, then $16 a day on level 3 and $4 a day on level 2 just look equally poor, equally far away.
But the difference between them is colossal. We're not talking about just a little less money.
Not at all. Level 1 means walking hours for dirty water and cooking over an open fire. Level 3 means you might have a bicycle, maybe even a motorcycle, you have running water, electricity.
Which means kids can go to school.
And you can afford shoes. It's a completely different world. And when we only see rich and poor, we create aid programs for a world that, frankly, stopped existing decades ago. We have to update that mental map.
That idea of a messy, complicated middle really undermines that old story. But if things are getting better, if that gap is closing, why do we always feel like the world is on fire?
Well, that brings us right to the next one, the negativity instinct.
Negativity instinct.
It's simple, really. We're wired to notice bad news because evolutionarily, bad news represented an immediate threat.
And the media knows this.
Oh, absolutely. Journalists, activists, they understand that drama sells. But slow, incremental progress, like a tiny drop in child mortality across 50 countries over a year, that's not a crisis. It's not news, so it rarely gets reported.
So what we're consuming is a highly edited, dramatic highlight reel of all the worst things happening.
While missing the 4-decade-long feature film of massive global improvement. Look at global health. When Rosling asked people the global average life expectancy, the correct answer, around 2017, was 72 years. But the most popular answer, even from highly educated audiences, was 60 years.
60 years? Wait a minute. That was a global average in 1973.
That's right.
So the people making huge decisions about global health are carrying a mental map that is 40 years out of date. That's a profound difference.
It shows you how powerful the negativity instinct is at suppressing good news. We tend to only think of progress happening in the rich level 4 countries.
But the shift is everywhere.
Everywhere. Hans Rosling pointed out that the Sweden he was born into in 1948 was, in terms of health and resources, equivalent to where Egypt is today.
Right in the middle of level 3.
Exactly. And what's even more amazing is that even countries on level 1 today are drastically better off than level 1 countries were a century ago.
How so?
All things, plastic buckets, soap, basic vaccinations. They mean that people in extreme poverty today live, on average, 30 years longer than people in extreme poverty in the 1800s.
Yeah.
That is enormous silent progress.
So what's the rule for fighting this instinct?
You have to practice distinguishing between a level and a direction. Things can be bad. The level of suffering might still be unacceptable. And yet the direction of change can be overwhelmingly positive.
Things can be both bad and better.
At the same time.
I find that framing so helpful. It lets you acknowledge current suffering while also seeing the incredible human achievement. Okay, let's tackle another big one. The straight line instinct.
Yes. The assumption that all trends will just continue in a straight line forever.
And the classic example is the panic over global population growth, that it's just going to keep spiking up and up and up until we run out of everything.
It's a fundamental error in thinking. Rosling nearly made it himself during the Ebola crisis. He first assumed cases were rising in a straight line, but the data actually showed an exponential doubling line, a totally different curve requiring a totally different response.
And we apply that same runaway straight line thinking to the human population. So if it's not a straight line, what is the curve actually doing?
The book shows it's a slide curve. The average number of babies born per woman worldwide dropped dramatically after 1965.
From what to what?
From about 5 births per woman down to an average of just 2.5 globally by 2017. And it's still dropping toward that replacement rate of 2.1. The number of new children being born is stabilizing.
Okay, but if the number of children is stabilizing, why do all the projections say the world population is still going to grow by another 4 billion people? That feels, well, it feels contradictory.
It does. It's because of something called the fill-up effect, and this is the real aha moment.
Okay.
Think of it this way. Back in the 70s and 80s, families were huge. There were about 2 billion children, ages 0-15, on the planet then. Today, there are still about 2 billion children in that age bracket. It's stable.
So the growth isn't coming from new, bigger families being born?
No. The growth is caused by the children who were born decades ago. Not dying. They're surviving, growing up, and filling the older age brackets. It's a population bulge moving through the system. 3 billion more adults.
So it's not an explosion, it's a fill-up.
A fill-up.
Which leads to this completely counterintuitive truth the book talks about. That the best way to slow population growth is to save children, not let them die.
The Bangladesh example is the perfect illustration of this. After they gained independence, child survival rates shot up to 97%.
Which is amazing.
It's incredible. And at the exact same time, the average number of births per woman dropped from 7 to just 2.
Why?
Because parents no longer needed to have 7 children as insurance against 5 of them dying. Once you have better health and education, the birth rate stabilizes all by itself.
So the rule here is, don't assume straight lines. Remember that curves can be S-bends or slides or humps. You have to know the shape.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've established our instincts make us see a world that's split, always getting worse, and endlessly multiplying. But there's another mistake we make, and it has to do with how we look at the numbers themselves.
Yes, this is the size instinct.
The size instinct.
It's our tendency to see a big standalone number in a headline and immediately assign it huge emotional significance without any context or comparison.
A big number on its own is often meaningless.
You have to divide it. You have to compare it. For example, infant mortality. In 2016, 4.2 million babies died before their first birthday.
And that number is, it's just horrific, an unimaginable amount of suffering.
It is. Nobody should argue with that. But the size instinct stops us from seeing the progress behind that suffering.
So what's the comparison?
In 1950, the number was 14.4 million babies dying every year.
14.4 million. So we're down 10 million deaths a year, even with a much larger global population.
A massive drop. But now let's divide it. Let's look at the rate.
Okay.
In 1950, the infant mortality rate was 15%. Today, it's just 3%.
Yeah.
By dividing, that terrible number, 4.2 million, becomes what Rosling calls beautifully small when you compare it to where we were.
So our emotional reaction to the big number shouldn't blind us to the direction of progress.
That is the very essence of factfulness.
We've covered some major instincts that distort our worldview. But the final one we'll touch on, it might be the most human of all. It's what we do when things go wrong.
It's the blame instinct.
The blame instinct. The need to find a single person or group to point the finger at. A villain to punish, or a hero to praise.
We want to punch the boss or elevate the charismatic leader. And that search for a simple villain or savior is just. It's deeply misleading.
Because progress doesn't work that way.
Progress isn't driven by singular heroes. It's driven by invisible systems, institutions, and technology. If you really want to understand progress, you have to look beyond the individual.
I love the personal story he uses to illustrate this about his grandmother and the washing machine.
It's perfect.
Yeah.
He describes his grandmother spending hours and hours every day doing this grueling manual laundry. And then, one day, she got her first electric washing machine.
A technological marvel.
A profound technological marvel. His mother saw that burden lifted, and she immediately used that new free time not for leisure, but to go to the public library.
An institutional marvel.
Exactly. In went the dirty clothes, out came the books. The technology created the time, and the institution provided the opportunity. Progress wasn't some hero saving them, it was the system.
The machine and the library working together.
And understanding that dynamic, that it's complex systems of technology, health policy, and education that drive us forward, that's the ultimate way to stay fact-based and avoid the drama of looking for a scapegoat.
It's a powerful call to action, really. It demands that we keep our mental maps updated, our instincts in check, and our focus on the slow, hard slog of systemic improvement.
It is. It means constantly challenging your own assumptions and never, ever taking progress for granted.
This has been a fascinating deep dive into factfulness. 10 reasons we're wrong about the world and why things are better than you think. We hope it helps you control those dramatic instincts the next time you see a scary headline. Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this brief exploration of the book, feel free to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel for future episodes. New book insights are coming soon. See you next time.